Someone could try to contest this idea by saying that they don't seek power or want to thrive. They won't eat or drink anything to prove this point, but they would still be seeking a kind of power. They imagine a world in which they prove the idea wrong, and they seek to bring that world into fruition, even at their own expense. African country that currently has a power cable linked to Europe. Much of this energy will be exported for profit to the countries of the European Union, but all of this energy is created from just 5 relatively small plants. If you zoom in far enough, there is no wetness. There are just molecules sitting in the spaces between the atoms of the cloth. Wetness is an emerging property of water, something new only created by a lot of individual interactions between water molecules. And this is sort of it. When I went home that night after getting my tattoo, I basically stayed up all night, and for the first several hours, there was exactly one thought in my head, and the thought was, make it go away. This is an unbelievably primitive emotional response. This testing out period removes the perceived risk that some managers attach to hiring relaunchers, and they are attracting excellent candidates who are turning into great hires. Think about how far we have come. Before this, most employers were not interested in engaging with relaunchers at all. Most transformations have financial and operational goals. These are important and they can be energizing to leaders, but they tend not to be very motivating to most people in the organization. To motivate more broadly, the transformation needs to connect with a deeper sense of purpose. Latin will help students think more logically, communicate more effectively, and have a more comprehensive understanding of the world around them, no matter how technologically advanced that world may become. People with addiction tend to have an intense focus on what they're addicted to the point where it takes over their life. What makes it so hard to break an addiction is that it can change the way your brain is wired, giving you harsh cravings that make it difficult to stop. One study found that the laughter produced from deaf participants was fundamentally similar to that produced by normally hearing individuals, backing up the idea that laughter is grounded in human biology. Everything was tried from exposing parts of the body to open flames to severely dropping the body's temperature with ice, to even bloodletting from the head directly. One treatment even included wholly emptying the stomach. The busy brain is our command center for our nervous system, which takes in data from our body and gives directions to our muscles. In fact, it does so much work, it requires about 20% of our energy to run it. Linguists have even found that people are more likely to remember a word if it comes after a hesitation. Hesitation phenomena aren't the only parts of speech that take on new meaning during dialogue. Certain areas contain dense clusters of receptors, and these dopamine hotspots are a part of our reward system. Drugs like alcohol, nicotine, or heroin send dopamine into overdrive, leading some people to constantly seek that high, in other words, to be addicted. They create a stored form of energy, in the form of carbohydrates such as glucose and sucrose. The process is called photosynthesis. When animals like us eat those plants, our stomachs convert that food back into energy for our own growth. When you notice the daffodil buds are poking through the snow, and think spring is on its way, you're using phenology. When you see leaves turn from green to red, and watch migrating birds fly past, and realize that summer is over, autumn is here, you're using phenology. Every time their spirits sink, which is often, the self-doubting sufferer picks up their phone and begs to know whether they have permission to go on. If this might be us, we should grow curious about and jealous of people who are free. The result of the scientific research shows that all metals responds to the heat. In recent years, people used to think that metal is supposed to blend under the heat, but sometimes it doesn't behave. So because atoms in the metal have random processes, a lot of people in the United States are coffee drinkers. Over the last few years, a trend has been developing to introduce premium specially blended coffees, known as gourmet coffees, into the America market. Boston seems to have been the birthplace of this trend. Traditional families once dominated every neighborhood. A traditional family consists of a husband and wife, plus their children, whether biological or adopted, if they have any today. American society displays greater diversity, and many American households can be considered non-traditional under this definition. When we think about the great civilizations historically, all of them had great production of culture and art, because a society has to be able to observe itself, and the sophistication of the great civilizations were their ability to look at themselves, and what allows a society to do.